Good evening, America. Welcome, Patriots from sea to shining sea and everybody in between. Welcome to Battleground Live. It's great to have you here on a Thursday. Boy, folks, it's hard to imagine a crazier almost 2 weeks of life here in America. I mean, that assassination attempt on President Trump. I mean, it has been on my mind from sunup to sundown every single day. And not in a negative way. I mean, of course, it was a horrifying negative incident, but I'm not saying I mean, I'm not struggling with it, is what I mean. I'm just thinking about I just can't get it out of my mind how something like that could happen. And every path that I go down continually leads me back to this has got to be willful negligence. Yes, sometimes people do inexplicable things in the moment. Sometimes people do things that don't make sense in a crisis. I mean, all of that's normal. But when you're the United States Secret Service, the premier protection agency in the world, and it's not particularly close. I've had buddies of mine that have worked for the United States Secret Service. One of my good friends protected 2 American presidents, and no, I'm not even talking about Bongino. But one of my buddies protected 2 American presidents. These guys are extremely professional. Well, at least they used to be. They're on site days, perhaps even a month in advance, just doing reconnaissance. I mean, they're supposed to be on site between 5 and 8 days in advance to have a look at the Butler Farm Show, the location of the rally. It just continues to be inexplicable to me how that roof could be left unmanned. And look, we got a huge show today. Make sure you like and rumble that little green thumb beneath the video, smash it. We're going to get into, this stuff on the assassination because it's just top of mind. But Biden's Oval Office address from last night is probably the last time he'll address America, and thank God, from the Oval Office. Chinese and Russian fighter jets off the coast of Alaska. What does that mean for America? Do they sense weakness in the fact that we're leaderless? Yeah, probably. Of course they do. How could they not? I want to talk a little bit about a Kamala versus Hillary comparison. It's a comparison that's made a lot, but just hear me out on this. We'll get to that a little bit later. And we've got to investigate Act Blue, which is a sophisticated digital money laundering operation that the Democrats have used for multiple cycles. They are clearly violating FEC law. It's amazing to me that red state attorneys general have not done a single damn thing about it, because it seems to me that they are violating the law in a big way. And the more money you raise, the easier it is to win elections. It's just that simple. So we're going to get into that and so much more. But I want to lead right off the top with this, back to this assassination stuff. We don't have a whole lot of details. So it's good news to me that the United States House of Representatives passed a Mike Kelly, who is a congressman from Butler County, a Mike Kelly-led resolution to form a bipartisan task force on Wednesday to investigate the assassination attempt of former President Trump on July 13th. House Resolution 1316. I mean, so passed the House with a unanimous vote, 416-0. Even Democrats voted for this. But the reason why this is urgent is, as I told you this week, Congress goes on their August recess in less than a couple of weeks. So it's critically important to get something in place before people pop smoke and leave. But the problem is that even when they get back, most of these members of Congress are going to be in campaign mode. So if they don't have experts working no one works 24 hours a day, but if you don't have experts operating outside of Congress, law enforcement, protection professionals, people who actually know what they're talking about out there doing the investigating, it's going to be very difficult to get anything done before the election. And look, I mean, that puts President Trump's life at risk for sure, because as I'm sure you've all seen, the Secret Service has recommended to President Trump that he stop holding large outdoor rallies. Oh, by the way, haven't said a damn thing to Kamala Harris. So they're going to pour resources into Kamala Harris and continue to, at least it seems that way, starve President Trump of the resources needed to keep him safe. But this doesn't even necessarily end with President Trump. Any sort of tactic, technique, or procedure that needs to be refined also puts Biden and Kamala Harris or anybody else that is receiving Secret Service protection, it puts them at risk. And there have been all sorts of things that have come out since the assassination attempt on the attempt on Trump's life on July 13th that have been very, very, very concerning. And of course, that is the United States Secret Service just came out today that they rejected drones offered by local law enforcement. Again, an inexplicable decision given the fact that they were shorthanded. They already knew that they didn't have the manpower. They were augmenting with Department of Homeland Security agents. So you would think you would want to have some sort of what you call a combat multiplier to help you have eyes and ears in as many locations as humanly possible. You're already shorthanded. Just makes sense. But they said no, they didn't want drones from local law enforcement. Okay. Something else that's bothered me is how the Secret Service has tried to blame this on local law enforcement, the police here. You know, I've had police officers who were there that day reach out to me and said they did their job and they did it well. When the facts come out, they're sure that they'll be vindicated. But the reason why they're saying this is because they believe the Secret Service and the feds are trying to pin this on them. Again, I will reiterate, when was the last time any federal law enforcement relinquished full tactical control to a local law enforcement agency? Never. It never happens, especially when it comes to protecting an American president. It simply does not happen. So the United States Secret Service and former director of the United States Secret Service, Cheadle, trying to blame local law enforcement is it's absurd and it's insulting. In this report today that local law enforcement sources dispute Senator Josh Hawley's charge that the local police left their post at the building where shooter Thomas Crooks perched to fire off his shot. A Hawley-sourced FoxNews.com report posted yesterday accused the local law enforcement officers of leaving their post at the AGR building because it was hot. You remember we talked about this briefly yesterday, and I thought in the moment that maybe that was possible because, again, sometimes when you're in a crisis, people do inexplicable things. People get complacent. You know, after a firefight, soldiers take off their helmets. Because it's hot. Sometimes soldiers take out their sappy plates, their body armor, because they don't want to carry they want to carry heavy weight. Sometimes things like this happen. So I thought maybe that would be possible. But now local law enforcement is even disputing that. So local law enforcement officers said that's, quote, ridiculous that the United States Secret Service never assigned them to the rooftop. Let me repeat that. Local law enforcement is saying that the United States Secret Service never assigned them to the rooftop. And I quote, "The assignments received by the local emergency services unit, the ESUs, were to be inside of the building at windows to begin with," said one officer. "The purpose of being in the building was to have a vantage point to scan for suspicious persons in the crowd. When a suspicious person was identified, command was notified. That suspicious person ended up shooting Trump. No one was told they were supposed to be on the roof." And these local law enforcement sources says that they have their assignments memorialized in writing, so they have proof. So this is why there needs to be some sort of independent investigation. We got nothing from the former director of the Secret Service prior to her resigning. In fact, it was insulting. And I mentioned to you all before that to me is a perfect example of why the deep state is dangerous. Here you have Democrats and Republicans asking questions of an entrenched bureaucrat that's damn near impossible to fire. And don't listen to me, just because she retired or resigned, by the way, the investigation into her and what happened should not stop just because she resigned. She's still going to get a golden parachute retirement, living high and mighty off the dime of the taxpayer. I mean, her resigning, should have happened instantly. The fact that it took as long as it did is insulting, but her resigning should not be the end of an investigation. In fact, the investigation should ramp up. We got no answers from her. And then the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, said in his testimony that he wasn't even sure that Trump got hit with a bullet, that it might have been shrapnel. Folks, this should concern you. It's pretty clear. I mean, I was there. It's pretty clear that he was hit by a bullet. There are pictures of a bullet whizzing right behind his head as he's grabbing his ear. And oh, by the way, at the hospital in Butler, his injury was marked down as a gunshot wound. But yet you have the director of the FBI saying otherwise. So the FBI issued a statement yesterday after Wray said Trump was hit by a bullet with shrapnel. And it says this: since the day of the attack, the FBI has been consistent and clear that the shooting was an attempted assassination of former President Trump, which resulted in his injury, as well as the death of a heroic father and the injuries of several other victims. FBI Director Wray provided extensive congressional testimony on Wednesday about the FBI's investigation. This was a heinous attack, and the FBI is devoting enormous resources to learning everything possible about the shooter, what led to this act of violence. The FBI shooting reconstruction team continues to examine evidence from the scene, including bullet fragments, and the investigation remains ongoing. Again, folks, let me ask you a question, and I'm going to look here in the live chat. And what I just read to you, that was a direct quote statement from the FBI. Does that tell you anything? Or is that just a fluffed up way of saying the investigation's ongoing and we have no real details? I mean, listen, folks, I want to ask you all, and I really throw your answers in the live chat. I'm looking at it right now. Do you trust the FBI, the United States Secret Service, or even a congressional task force with corrupt Democrats on that task force to conduct an investigation that will bring anything of substance to light? Please tell me. So no, I'm seeing a bunch of no's. No. I mean, it's not just me who thinks this. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. Everybody here in this chat, like some using very, very colorful language. And by the way, as a former infantry officer, I very much appreciate the colorful language. Sometimes I use it myself. And did you also know that there's a correlation between swearing and higher intelligence? I'm telling you, science TM shows this. But I'm just saying, folks, none of this adds up. None of this makes sense. A former president and the likely next president was almost killed, millimeters from death. And does it bother any of you? Does it bother any of you? And again, I'm looking in the live chat. You all are still going off on whether or not you can trust the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service. I don't either. I'm with you. But does it bother any of you? I mean, this is what really has been upsetting me, is how fast we've moved on from this. How the media is spending more time debating whether or not Trump had a bullet injury or a shrapnel injury. And by the way, he was shot at. Somebody tried to kill him. People died. They're debating shrapnel, bullet injury. By the way, who the hell cares about that? Someone tried to kill him. But they covered for Joe Biden's cognitive decline for 3 years. The number one person responsible for Biden's cognitive decline was cackling Kamala Harris. And she's now the nominee. Does this piss anybody else off? I mean, this assassination attempt just happened and the media is already moving on. I just think it does an unbelievable disservice to those who were wounded, the families of Corey Compratore. It does a disservice to the Trumps and his families. It's just absolutely ridiculous. All right, let me take a quick break because I could go on forever about this, but let me tell you about Sweetamine. Sweetamine is for chronic inflammation. So if you have it, you should take it. It works. I'm not a snake oil salesman. I wouldn't push this stuff if it didn't work, but I've been taking it for 3 months and it does. Sweetamine works because it's composed mainly of the amino acid glycine, and that's the nutrient our immune system uses to regulate inflammation. Most of the diseases that make people sick and die these days are rooted in chronic inflammation, mainly due to a glycine deficiency. The aches and pains we feel as we get older are mainly due to chronic inflammation. Once daily serving of Sweetamine provides 8 grams of glycine, and that's enough to stop all excess inflammation right where it starts. With once daily Sweetamine, most people feel the reduction in pain after just a few days. Sweetamine is also great for recovery after workouts. A 12-day challenge trial pack of Sweetamine, only $19.95 with free shipping, and it's sold completely risk-free. So if you don't like it, you can send it back. Use Sweetamine just like sugar in your favorite beverage in a smoothie. Sprinkle it on your cereal. Take it in a protein shake any way you want. All natural Sweetamine contains no sugar or carbs, only has 24 calories, and it's great for diabetics. Buy Sweetamine online at sweetamine.com. That's SWEETAMINE.com, or call 855-GET-SWEET. That's 855-438-7933. Sweetamine.com, 855-GET-SWEET, or 855-438-7933. I've heard lots of things from I gotten emails and stuff and messages from folks in the live chat, Battle Crew, who taken Sweetamine. They love it. They swear by it. I'm telling you, this stuff works. So don't forget to use the promo code Sean, SEAN, and you'll get a $5 discount. I'm telling you, the only thing that you have to lose is your pain. All right. Also, Battle Crew, if you're on the lookout for a top-notch transportation service, limo service, whether it's for corporate travel or some other adventure, well, you're in luck, because today we've got the inside scoop on a company that's all about luxury. It's all about reliability. It's all about exceptional customer service. I'm, of course, talking about Book a Limo, longtime sponsor of the show. So from sleek sedans to spacious SUVs, even Sprinter vans, mini coaches for group travel. If you need something larger, they even have you covered with motor coaches. They also have, of course, limousines. Book a Limo. It's right in the name. So a lot of things set Book a Limo apart. The fact that they're in 1,000 cities worldwide, that helps. Their prices also in line with Uber and Lyft. Why do business with a woke liberal company that does not share your values when you can work with Book a Limo, a company that does? And oh, by the way, the level of customer service that you'll receive at Book a Limo is far higher than anything you'll get at Uber or Lyft. They offer a 24-hour day, 7-day a week in-house operation armed with state-of-the-art technology. So whether it's the dead of night or crack of dawn, text message, call, direct line to your driver. Book a Limo is a full-service experience. So give them a call, 1-800-BOOK-A-LIMO. That's 1-800-BOOK-A-LIMO. You can book online at www.bookalimo.com. That's www.bookalimo.com. Trust me, they're your go-to for a safe, luxurious ride that you absolutely deserve. So this assassination attempt has really been pissing me off. And Biden addressed the nation last night. And I was curious to see, I really was curious to see what he'd say, what his condition would be, because we hadn't seen the guy in forever. Resigns on social media with a PDF without presidential letterhead, digitally signed. You have ABC out there running clips, and I'm sure he didn't mean to say it, but said the government tried to kill Donald Trump. I mean, are they trying to create conspiracy theorists? It's absolutely crazy. But I wanted to see if Joe Biden was going to mention anything about the assassination attempt. He didn't. But boy, was this speech hanging by a thread just about the entire time. Listen to how he started it off.
My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Claremont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities. of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others.
As soon as he said kid with a stutter, I basically tuned out because I knew it was going to be a speech that was filled with lies, essentially a campaign speech. And by the way, because it was a campaign speech, Trump should absolutely get equal time on these networks. Any network that carried Biden's national address, Trump should get equal time. Do you want to know why? This had nothing to do with the job of president. He didn't give one damn specific reason as to why he was stepping down other than he was going to get his ass kicked by Trump. It is just that simple. It boiled down to, I'm going to get my ass kicked by Trump, so I quit. That's it. That's the only reason that he gave. And oh, by the way, he quit after millions of his own voters voted. We're going to get into that in the threats that the Democrats pose to democracy, but give me a break. It was nothing but partisan bullshit from these Democrats. Bullshit artists. Just Democrats are just bullshit artists in every way. Listen to this.
We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans. And we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure.
So Biden quits because, by the way, he didn't just quit because he was going to get his ass kicked. If it were up to the Bidens, did you see that picture of them all in the Oval Office? All crying like it was a damn funeral. The Biden crime family knew that the grift was over. It's kind of hard to extort money out of or to take money from China and Russia and corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs when you're nothing, when you have no influence in American politics anymore. Hunter Biden on trial in September for very serious charges. But it doesn't matter if Joe Biden, if it were up to him, he would have stayed in. Even if it looked like he was going to get his ass kicked, he would have stayed in. The Democrats forced him out. So this is what I mean that yesterday I said it's like permanent opposite day within the Democrat Party. So whatever they say, and I'm telling you, almost everything that they say, you can just bank on the exact opposite being the truth. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. So January 6th, a mostly peaceful protest, was worse than Pearl Harbor? Was worse than 9/11? Are you effing kidding me? That is, not only is that insulting, it's historically illiterate, but it's just patently false. I mean, can we please, for the love of God, stop acting like January 6th was just these Democrats won't shut up about it. The vast majority of America doesn't give a damn about January 6th. And for God's sake, what was there, a couple hour delay of the certification process? I mean, again, this was a campaign speech. Joe Biden was simply using what was supposed to be a national address about why he was getting out of the race, which he did not talk about. But he manipulated the media to use a national address to give a campaign speech to the nation in which he read from a teleprompter the entire time and trotted out whoppers just like this. Listen.
You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific.
Oh, my word. I'm telling you, that speech is hanging by a thread. But I mean, honestly, you see him like looking up at the teleprompter, raising his hand. I mean, it's like, it's no wonder the world thinks that we're leaderless right now. It's because we are. You know, Kamala is not a smart person. She's not. And that's exactly why I wanted to. Oh, by the way, before I get into Kamala and Hillary, this whole like, we're a country that's not at war. We just gave over $1 billion to wage a proxy war in Ukraine for the last 3 years with Russia. If this country is not at war, then where the hell are all my tax dollars going to fight the war in Ukraine? Of course, America is at war. I mean, again, anything that the Democrats say, just assume the opposite is true. But yeah, it's no wonder that our enemies think that we're leaderless. It's because we are. Joe Biden's gone, cognitively gone. And cackling Kamala is just a complete moron. And see, this is why I think a comparison between Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris is not analogous. Now, when you're talking strictly likability, oh, listen, I mean, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, not likable people. The likability factor on each of them is negative. But for a second, like Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't like Hillary Clinton, but just go with me here. Kamala's a moron. I'm sorry, but she has no real accomplishments. The fact that people are calling her all of these nicknames, Heels Up Harris, Hawk 2 Harris, whatever. I know that Commander Melanie doesn't like that and thinks that there are other ways that we can attack her. And I'm right. I happen to think they're fair attacks because it speaks to the fact that she's not qualified for the job and didn't really do anything of substance to earn it. But nevertheless, did you hear anybody say that stuff about Hillary Clinton? Heels up Hillary or anything like that, insulting her qualifications? No, listen. That's because Hillary Clinton is smart. Hillary Clinton is ruthless. Hillary Clinton is cunning. Hillary Clinton is a dangerous politician. Yes, she was the wife of a president, but something tells me that Bill Clinton, in part, was successful. Now, Bill Clinton, by the way, I think was pretty charismatic guy, right? I think that most people I don't like Bill Clinton either. I'm just saying that something tells me that Bill Clinton might have been in the bar like chasing tail if it weren't for Hillary Clinton behind him, pushing him to climb higher, right? Hillary Clinton is a far more dangerous opponent than Kamala Harris. So the comparison that, Kamala, Hillary, they're kind of the same. No, Hillary Clinton is more dangerous. And by the way, Hillary Clinton actually had people voting for her. She ran in a primary. I mean, now listen, she was a senator from New York. She was a secretary of state. She was the candidate. Millions of people voted for her. And Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. So if you look at the likability factor, right? So if all things are even, okay, Hillary Clinton's unlikable. Kamala Harris is unlikable. But Hillary Clinton is far more formidable than Kamala. Kamala is a moron. She doesn't know anything about foreign policy. She was a disaster as the borders are. We're going to talk about that here in a second. She's done nothing during her tenure as vice president. Nothing. All right, so this is like, we're going to talk about how Democrat voters feel about selecting, not electing, cackling Kamala here in a second, but let me tell you first about prepper bars. Having gold or silver bars and coins available is great for protecting wealth, but if you need smaller chunks in a pinch, you're going to need a pretty solid hacksaw. In other words, if you're looking to barter with something of value and say, Democrat and Republican politicians print so much money that paper money becomes worthless, well, you're going to need prepper bars. So that's why prepper bar they're important. And that's why we're introducing prepperbarnow.com. This is the disruptive new product that allows you to carry wealth in your wallet. It's just that simple. These perforated gold or silver bars, this is silver right here, but you can see the perforations here. They allow you to easily detach smaller denominations ranging from 1.5 grams, real small, up to 7.7 grams. Prepper Bar Now is not prepper food. It is prepper wealth protection in these crazy, crazy times. So go to prepperbarnow.com and have these innovative bars sent to your home today to keep in your safe or in your wallet, on your person. Believe me, you're going to wish you had something like this if you have to trade for food, water, ammunition to protect your family, feed your family. So again, go to prepperbarnow.com, have these things sent directly to your door. Silver prepper bars right here. Buy it, break it, trade it. Pretty damn awesome stuff. Also, Red Beach Nation. Red Beach Nation provides conservative apparel and beachwear for freedom-loving Americans. So whether you live at the beach or you're traveling to one or just want to imagine yourself there, Red Beach's comfy, patriotic apparel are sure to lift your spirits. Everybody loves spangly apparel, right? So Red Beach Nation was founded by a former counterterrorism officer. He's a war veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan. Red Beach Nation is committed to upholding the American values and principles that we all hold so dear. Red Beach Nation is just pure Americana, not t-shirts that are designed to spark outrage. So come live the sand, surf, and freedom lifestyle with us. Head on over to redbeachnation.com. Use the promo code Sean, S-E-A-N, and save 10% on your order. Again, that's redbeachnation.com. Use the promo code S-E-A-N and save 10% off your order. Folks, we should definitely be supporting these companies if you can. That's how we keep the show independent. And so it's important that we do. So also make sure you smash that like button, that little green thumb beneath the video. Now, if you're watching this show on your mobile device, you have to close out of the live chat. The like button will show itself after you close out. If you're watching on the television set on Roku, just press the up button twice. The like button is right there. So you can also like this show if you're watching it on television. So go ahead and smash that like button. Okay. So how do Democrat voters feel about selecting Kamala Harris and not electing her? Yesterday, I said it's just not going to play well for them. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, something tells me that the Democrats, and remember, I told you this weeks ago, that one, I didn't think that Joe Biden was going to step down, but if the Democrats did force him out, their only path was Kamala. So now they got Kamala, right? At least she's going to be the presumptive nominee. But Kamala is not likable. The general electorate doesn't like her. Her own voters don't like her. She dropped out before voting in the 2020 primary. I mean, she was like in dead last the whole time. Her staff doesn't like her. She has like a 97% turnover rate in her office. Her colleagues don't like her. So something tells me that the Democrats are like, well, hell with it. Like, look, if she can do a little bit better than Joe Biden, maybe we can preserve House seats and Senate seats. I think Democrats are basically saying, hey, look, if we win the Oval Office and we got Kamala in there, great. We're not counting on her. But she might do slightly better than Joe Biden, which would allow us to not get shellacked in the House and the Senate. I honestly think that they're making Kamala Harris a sacrificial lamb. And Democrat voters are not happy about the selection process. If you don't believe me, just listen to them for yourself. Democrat voters in Wisconsin. Listen.
How do you feel about the process in which President Biden decided not to run for re-election?
Well, it would have been nice if he made this decision a year ago so we could have had a primary and, maybe decided who we want to replace him rather than just all flocking to Kamala Harris.
I think by trying to clear the field and ensure that it was going to be Biden and make sure that there wasn't any sort of not allowing us to have an actual Democratic primary process, I'm not saying I think Kamala Harris is going to lose, but I do think that we would have been benefited significantly if he had figured this out far sooner, so there could have actually been more time to have an internal debate, have internal democracy within the party.
See, this is why I found it ironic that Joe Biden was like, we have to defend against democracy. And I looked at Melanie, I'm like, these Democrats are shameless and they are dangerous. Here you have Joe Biden talking about threats to democracy as Joe Biden's own party knifed him in the back, shanked him, cut his knees out from under him, pushed him out of the office after millions of his voters already cast their ballots. Remember that the secret and wealthy cabal of powerful people who fortified the 2020 election? Well, this is the same wealthy cabal, secret, wealthy, powerful cabal of people in a smoky room, basically saying that, yeah, Kamala is going to be the person. That's not going to go over well with your voters. Now, listen, I know how Savage Rich feels about this, that the Democrats tend to fall in line, but nobody likes to be passed over. Nobody likes to be blown off. Nobody wants to have their vote disenfranchised. So even though the Democrats rigged the primary in 2016 against Bernie Sanders and then again in 2020 against Bernie Sanders, at least people were voting. At least people were casting their ballots. They just said, screw you. We don't even care about your vote. They just selected Kamala Harris. And I don't think that it's going to go over well. You know, it's fascinating. I told you that the Democrats, the Democrats are the party of they, the people. Republicans are the party of we, the people. I've told you before that a Republican from Pennsylvania is different from a Republican from California. That's because our constituencies demand different things. Therefore, those Republicans in Congress, their belief systems they demand different things for their constituencies, which is oftentimes why it's so hard to wrangle up Republicans, whip Republicans to get them to vote in the same way. Democrats are the party of they, the people. There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat. They all vote like AOC. Some just pretend better than others. They're the party of they, the people. They pass out talking points. They pass out talking points to the media and the press. And if you don't believe me, that literally just happened today about Kamala Harris and this whole border czar thing. I mean, seriously, a Democrat lawmaker, this is from Bobby Burak, he's an Outkick reporter on X, but a Democrat lawmaker confirmed to Fox that Dems have received a piece of paper with talking points / lies about how to discuss Kamala Harris's role at the southern border. So listen to this. Let me just read to you directly from this piece of paper that's being passed around to Democrats and passed around to their allies in the media about Kamala being a border czar. It's literally a printed piece of paper. In fact, I don't want you to have to take my word for it. I want to see if I can show you this for yourself, and you can just read along with me. When I say that the Democrats, that four people in Washington set the talking points for everybody else, I mean it. That's what it looks like. I don't know if you all can see it, but it says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. Talking point 1. There has never been a position. There has never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Border czar title is invented by Republican, and the press repeats. You see how the press repeats? Was not asked to lead on the administration's immigration or border enforcement policies. So, folks, you're seeing it right there for yourself. You're seeing how this stuff works. This is what the Democrats do to control the narrative. I mean, listen to Hakeem Jeffries parroting those talking points almost verbatim today. Listen.
She was never assigned the position of border czar. They're making that up.
She was never assigned the position of border czar. They're making that up. Or how about KJP today?
So yes, we are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar. And it's not just us. Independent fact checkers have said the same thing, that did not exist, and that is not true.
And a different. So, you see, I've said before on the show that I almost respect how the Democrats can get their people to toe the line. But very rarely does something like this happen where their talking points leak out and you can see how KJP and Hakeem Jeffries, it's like they're reading directly from the sheet that I just read to you. This is how they operate. They don't think for themselves. It's how they're able to foist narratives so effectively on the American people. Now, Peter Doocy from Fox News asked KJP about these talking points that were passed out to the press. Listen to this exchange.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal? Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan deal on just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to moving forward?
So you see how this works. Peter Doocy was asking a question about the border czar talking points that were disseminated to the media and Democrats on Capitol Hill. And the media just regurgitates those talking points. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. But she just pivoted right to Republicans. Remember when I told you months ago that the Democrats would campaign on border security? Well, Joe Biden said it last night during his national address. He had the gall to say that the border was secure. And KJP turning around. Oh, well, what about those stingy Republicans and the bipartisan border deal because of useful idiot Republicans in the Senate passing a border bill that was not a border bill. It was an amnesty bill. It was an invasion bill. But I found this soundbite that I just think is just critically important about this border czar stuff. Because these Democrats are furiously trying to rewrite history. I mean, honestly, they're so brazen about it that they would make George Orwell in his book 1984 blush. They're just shameless hacks and liars. And they think that the American people won't realize it. So I'm gonna let you listen to this sound mashup of the media talking about Kamala Harris as a border czar and then acting like she was never a border czar today. Listen to the truth. This is the truth. This is media hypocrisy in action. Go.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
I mean, like, it's pretty damn clear what's happening here, is it not? I mean, this is why I articulate it. We the people, they the people. But very, very seldom do we get an example that's so crystal clear as this. Almost everything that those media types in that segment were saying were taken directly from that sheet of paper that was leaked to the media today. It just shows you how shameless these people are. It also should highlight for you how important shows like this are. You know, I was talking to one of my neighbors yesterday or the day before, and she's not as political as me, but she's conservative. And she said, I just don't trust anything anymore. And let me ask all of you, and I mean this, like, do you trust what you see on Fox News? Do you trust what you see? Obviously, you don't trust what you see on CNN and MSNBC. But maybe a better question is, have you lost faith in cable news across the board? I mean, I'm looking at your answers in the live chat, and I want to hear from you. But I certainly have. I've had the news on the last several days just because so much has happened. And I wanted to see Biden's address and things like that. And even Fox News, God bless them, I got friends there. Friends that are hosts, friends that are producers. Been going on Fox News since 2012. But I feel like even the people who comment, now there are exceptions. Jesse Waters is great, Pete Hegseth is great, and there are others that are great on that network as well that understand the moment that we're in, but most are just like yesterday's Republican. And so you've got to focus on getting your information from alternative sources, X or shows like this one on Rumble. It's just so important because you just can't trust anything anymore. And so I want to get into next this slobbering love affair that the media now has with Kamala. Because you see how they've gone in overdrive about Kamala's never been border czar, not been a border czar. Technically, that's not accurate. Well, she's not really a border czar. You see what they're doing. And then I think erasing her record as the most liberal senator, just going back and deleting articles that talk about her as being the most liberal senator in the Senate, rewriting history before our eyes while simultaneously engaging in a Soviet-style propaganda campaign that would make even Joseph Stalin jealous. I mean, it wasn't a month ago that the vast majority of the people, both in the media and in the Democrat Party, thought Kamala was weak. The vast majority of people thought she was kind of stupid, that she wouldn't be a strong candidate. But now that she's anointed and selected, the slobbering love affair that we're witnessing in the media is just sickening. Like she's the second coming of female Jesus. Like she's some sort of messianic figure. And you're going to expect that and so much more over the next 100 days until the election. And the media is going to be shameless about it. And they're going to try to put thoughts in your head about President Trump, just like this on CNN. Listen to this. Try not to lose your mind.
He's watching this.
Yeah, look, I think Trump is going through a mental meltdown because he doesn't know how to run against somebody like Kamala Harris. Not just that she is incredibly accomplished as DA, AG, Senator, VP, but the fact that she is also very attractive. I mean, I have to say it. And that combination. And in addition to that, she's not only a woman, she's a woman of African American, Asian descent, daughter of immigrants, Jamaican descent. I mean, it's this sort of cauldron of all of the things that Trump has nightmares about every single night. And so that's why you're seeing, I think, on the other side, everyone around him trying to go to these attacks that they think are going to work, but in fact, they're all going to backfire because her theme, I think, is right on. Fighting for families. We're not going to go back. She's fighting for us. He is in it for himself. And I think the other thing that is really making his head explode is that she's getting all of the headlines, and he's not.
Doug.
She's so accomplished. And she's attractive. And Trump can't handle that. I mean, this person probably makes high 6, maybe 7 figures giving advice to political candidates. Seriously? And G. Fontes, thanks for the Rumble rant tip. 100% of what we get in the chat goes to the studio, so thank you. But, you remind me of something that I glossed over here in my notes, and he says it's the exact words. Borders are in HR House Resolution 253 on the 24th of March, 2021 to confirm Kamala Harris's appointment to the position. So it doesn't matter. I mean, the Democrat, doesn't matter that this is in writing. It doesn't matter that anchors have said this on video. Axios said, well, she's not actually the border czar, when the outlet Axios actually referred to Kamala as the border czar for the last 3 years. I mean, it's just like, these people are shameless. These people are shameless. Okay. Got to get to some CNN polling here in a second. But let me tell you about the satellite phone store. With cell networks becoming more fragile and the world becoming more and more unpredictable. By the way, these last 2 weeks have been insanely unpredictable. So a satellite phone is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. When disaster struck in Hawaii, satellite phones from sat123.com were there to coordinate relief for thousands. Or take the AT&T outage. Their customers did not miss a beat. Be prepared and always stay connected with the satellite phone store at sat123.com. The satellite phone store brings you the world's most reliable communication with the Iridium 9555 and iSat satellite phones. Right now, you can get your hands on these lifesavers with incredible deals. No cost for the phone on select plans and monthly rates starting as low as $85. Their satellite phones aren't just for anyone. They're for everyone who values safety, security, and connectivity. So don't leave your safety to chance. Never be out of reach. Call 855-980-5830 or visit sat123.com today and step into the world of reliable, secure satellite communication. Sat123.com, where your peace of mind is satellite phone stores promise. Again, that's sat123.com. Can you feel it now? Because something even bigger is coming. And of course, I'm talking about My Patriot Supply. This is an awesome company. So stop what you're stop what you're doing and listen. Your God-given freedoms are up for the taking. Even worse, those doing the taking are the people who've sworn to defend your freedom. They think that they can violate your right to protect your own family. They think they can force delusions onto your children. They think that they can control the media and hide the truth, but you know what they can't take away? They cannot take away your self-reliance, and they cannot take away your peace of mind. So hopefully you have water filtration. You definitely should. A charged solar generator, you definitely should have that too. Emergency food on your shelf. Yes, we here at Fort Parnell, we have that stuff. You should get it. And if you are going to get it, you should get it from My Patriot Supply. Having served millions of American families, My Patriot Supply is the most trusted name in survival, and for damn good reason too. Go to preparewithvnn.com right now and save up to $200 on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. It delivers 2,000 calories per day, sealed inside practically unpierceable packaging. It lasts up to 25 years in storage. And that I also mentioned that it tastes really, really good. And coming from a guy like me who eats no fruits or vegetables, that's really saying something. So go to preparewithvnn.com, save $200 per kit. Free shipping is included. That's preparewithvnn.com. So even with the anointment of Kamala Harris, even with the slobbering love affair, even with the rewriting of history and propaganda that would make the Politburo and the Soviets jealous, Kamala Harris has a very tough road ahead of her. And it's not just me saying it, it's CNN. Listen for yourself.
CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton joining me now to run the numbers. There is a lot of excitement. We have not seen this kind of shift in tone from the Democrats, in particular I can't remember a time where we've been through something like this.
This has been the craziest month in American politics that I can possibly recall. It was less than a month ago that Joe Biden and Donald Trump were debating in the CNN debate.
Less than a month.
Less than a month. We had a failed assassination attempt. We had a president literally saying, no, I'm not going to run for re-election less than a month before the Democratic National Convention. But here is the thing, Sarah Seidner, for all of the excitement that Democrats have over Kamala Harris, it is going to be difficult to beat Donald Trump, and I want to give you an understanding of why. Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular, but take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
It will be interesting to see how voters respond to all of this. Now, how is he doing relative to Harris, who did run at one point? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look here, right? We've been focusing so much on how Harris was doing better than Biden in the polling, and that's true. If we take a look at the national average, what do we see? We see Donald Trump up by 1. That's a within the margin race, right? That's a close race. But remember, of course, in the national popular vote, Democrats tend to do better there than they've done in the Electoral College, at least when Donald Trump has been running for president. So last time around, when Joe Biden barely won in the Electoral College, he actually won the national popular vote by 4 points. So at this point, Donald Trump is running 5 points better. 5, that's a 5 of some sort. 5 points better than he was 4 years ago against Joe Biden. So at this particular point, whether you look at the favorable ratings, whether you look at the horse race polling, we see that Donald Trump is doing significantly better than he was doing 4 years ago at this point. Kamala Harris is going to have to do better than this, of course, if she wants to win the popular vote, but more than that if she wants to win the Electoral College, where she'll likely have to outperform how she's done nationally, because the fact is, if you got to tie it in the national popular vote, that is probably not good enough if you're Kamala Harris and you want to win the election against Donald Trump.
Look, 100 days is an eternity in politics. You saw what just happened over the last couple of weeks. But there's a reason why the Democrats pushed Biden out, and it's not because he's cognitively in decline. If Biden was crushing Trump, they would have just rode with it until Election Day and puppeted him behind the scenes, just like they've been doing for 3 years. Kamala has a very tough road. Now, that's not to say that we should take things for granted. That's the opposite is true. In fact, I would not take Kamala Harris lightly. The Democrats have a machine. The Democrats are going to engage in that. They're going to engage that machine in this election cycle. So we have to show up, folks. We have to show up. Polling is one thing. Results on Election Day, very, very different. So, a couple of administrative things before we pop smoke for the evening. Remember, I am hosting Jesse Kelly's nationally syndicated radio show tomorrow from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can listen to, I think you could listen to it on the iHeartRadio app. It's free. I think, or you can go to jessekelly.com or jessekellyradio.com and listen there as well from 6 to 9. So I'd love to have the battle crew representing in some way. So that's where I'll be tomorrow. And because it's at 6 to 9, it makes it almost impossible for me to do the show. It's like a 40-minute trip to get down to like the iHeart studio. And I've got to leave essentially at like 4, get there an hour early. It makes it almost impossible to do the show just before the radio show. And it's just impossible. And it's a bummer because I hate missing this show. So don't forget about that. Also, many of you have been asking, did we get all of our chickens? And the answer to that question is yes. We got them all back. Melanie hunted for them for hours. And then after the show, I went out there to help her, and they managed to avoid both of us. And then just before the sun went down, they walked back to the coop on their own. So lesson learned there as well. But all is well here in Fort Parnell on the homestead. We're still learning, you know? So anyways, folks, make sure before you leave to smash that like button, that little green thumb beneath the video. Smash it. It helps the show immensely. It propels us to the leaderboard. Tell your family and your friends to subscribe to Battleground Live. We need them. We want them in the trenches fighting to save this country. I will see you tomorrow on radio. Jesse Kelly Show from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I'll be right back here, Battleground Live on Monday night. And as always, folks, keep the faith. Take action in your community to help save this country. The best is yet to come. So God bless you all. And God bless this amazing, exceptional country that we call home. Take care. Good night. See you tomorrow on radio.